Raise your hand if you have seen a psychiatrist this week. One person? Well, everyone's hand should be up right now because you're looking at one. I am a psychiatrist born and raised in Uganda. Besides taking care of persons with mental health problems, I research and teach mental health in the School of Medicine at Makerere University. In my career, I've had the privilege of being on both sides of a mental hospital bed. What do I mean by that? On one side of the bed, I have been a caregiver to a loved one with mental illness. My brother, Luke, had grown into a handsome, intelligent, hardworking young man. At age 16, he was diagnosed with a severe mental illness. As a family, we took care of him the best way that we could. But after struggling with this illness for 10 years, he gave up and he took his own life. On the other side of the bed, I have been the psychiatrist taking care of persons with mental health problems. Given that experience, I know how hard a diagnosis of mental illness hits the affected individual and the family. I have lived the pain, the anger, and the shame, the denial, the guilt, and the blame. Despite the fear, we must act on mental health issues. We must act in spite of the fear. Yesterday was World AIDS Day. Now, you may wonder, what is the connection between HIV/AIDS and mental health? But it is the people living with HIV/AIDS that drew me into the mental health field. And I want you to meet two of these people living in northern Uganda, where I conduct my research. This is Severino. He lives in Namkora village, Kitgum district. When I met him in 2013, he could not work in his garden because he lacked energy all the time. As a result, he did not have enough food for his household. When he was hungry, he could not take his medication. Consequently, he was sick all the time. Unable to work, he felt useless, worthless, and hopeless, and he felt he should die. Betty here lives in Poranga village in Pade district. When I met her last year, she was too weak to even sit up. She was faced with multiple challenges, including raising 3 children all by herself. She was angry at her situation, and she did not want to talk to her neighbors. She preferred to lock herself up in her hut with her children. She, too, saw death as the only option. These two people, Betty and Severino, were struggling with depression, but they did not know this. Depression is the commonest mental health problem in the world. And according to the World Health Organization, these are the numbers. 350 million people around the world suffer from depression. 7 out of 10 are living in poverty in poor areas, and about 5 of those 7 do not have access to treatment. Early on in my career as a young doctor, I used to be ashamed of the fact that I did not know how to treat someone who had HIV/AIDS and a mental health problem. The senior doctors I worked with, they used to prescribe the usual treatments. But for persons with HIV/AIDS, they would get severe complications, suggesting that their management had to be different. So in search of answers, I went to a bookstore in Kampala and I bought myself a textbook on mental health so that I could educate myself and offer the appropriate care. So I read this book from cover to cover, and I read it over and over again. I couldn't find a single sentence with the words HIV and mental health. This was a eureka moment for me. I had stumbled on a major treatment gap in the care of persons with HIV/AIDS in Africa. Now, I did not know how I would change this status quo, but I thought a good place to start was to pursue a master's degree in psychiatry. At the end of that program, a paper from my thesis was published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, drawing attention to the burden of mental health problems in persons living with HIV/AIDS in Africa. The editor-in-chief of that journal sent me a personal email that read, "Ethel, congratulations on a nice piece of psychiatry." I was so excited. I was on the cover page. I thought I was going to be famous. But no, I did not become famous. But that achievement earned me a Fulbright Science and Technology Award to pursue doctoral studies in the United States. Now, while in the United States, before I knew what had hit me, the hunter for solutions to depression had become hunted. I was in a foreign land with a 4-month-old baby. I had left 2 other children, aged 4 and 5, with my husband at home. As I tried to adjust to a new way of life, my thoughts became increasingly negative. I was a bad mother. I was a bad wife. To make matters worse, I was failing to attain the grades required of a doctoral student. So I was a bad student. And to add insult to injury, my academic advisor had told me that his only responsibility towards my academics was to sign my official documents when the need arose. Given my experience in mental health, I knew I was sliding into depression. So I told myself, Ethel, you must reverse this situation immediately. I mustered all the courage I could, and I went to the Students' Assistance Program to get help. I was commended for seeking their services, and they asked me to share my problems, and I did. And afterwards, I felt like a heavy load had been lifted off my chest. I was feeling better already. I knew I had come to the right place, and more help was on the way. But then, this is what I heard. Your insurance is the wrong type for this facility. You need to change that. At the moment, there is no therapist who is a good fit for you. When we find one, we'll get back to you. In the meantime, go to the Dean of Studies and declare your disability so that you can get consideration in your examinations. And if you get any thought of trying to kill yourself, quickly run to the emergency room. Now, think about that for a moment. I realized I had to help myself. And this is what I did. Number 1, I continued to share my problems, my difficult situations with people I trust in my network. I called home more often. I talked to my husband about the children, my worries, and he responded by sending me their report cards. My children were scoring grade A, and mommy was scoring grade C. This was a wake-up call to stop my excessive worrying. My children were fine, they were thriving. I recall spending hours on the phone with my brother, Gonza, offloading my problems onto him, and I would feel much better afterwards. The point is, if you remain silent, you cannot get the help or the support that you need. The second thing I did was to proactively increase my social support and network. I forced myself to make friends with anyone who was willing to talk to me. I made friends with the academic coordinator, and I learned that as a doctoral student, I was entitled to a tutor. So I took up that option, and I improved my grades. I also learned I could change my advisor, and I did. Yes. I also learned that I could reach out to as many professors as I could in other departments who could help and guide me in my research. Research has shown that social support and connections are the strongest protectors against depression. The third thing I did was to learn and practice positive coping skills, in particular, those required to deal with stigma and discrimination. In the communities where I lived, I was regarded different. I was reading books all the time. I just didn't seem to know how to have fun. So no one wanted to associate with me. I had to learn to accept those things about myself that I cannot change, and to also surround myself with those people that support me. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that positive coping skills protect against depression. The last thing I did, I increased my income. I got an online job as part of a project in Uganda, and as a result, I could afford to buy an air ticket and fly home at the end of each semester to be with my family and friends. Research has shown that poverty is highly associated with depression, and in the African context, any intervention for depression must address the issue of poverty. These 4 actions I took saved my life. Unfortunately, for my colleague, also a Fulbright scholar in the same graduate program, and as I, did not survive her depression. While in Uganda, enjoying the comfort of my family and friends, I received an email from her, and she said, "Ethel, I am overwhelmed. I need to talk to you." Immediately, I knew this was trouble, and I was so far away. I told her, "I promise I'm going to be back within 1 week, and I'll come and see you." The day after I arrived, before I had a chance to talk to her, she killed herself. She took her own life, just like that. I was devastated. I thought I could teach my colleague the actions I took to push back depression, but I didn't get a chance. I thought about the people living with HIV/AIDS in Uganda, struggling with depression with no access to treatment, and I made a decision I was going to help them. After completing my doctoral studies, I searched for an HIV program that could work with me to fight depression. The AIDS support organization, TASL, agreed to work with me. I then came up with a bold idea to develop a culturally sensitive group therapy program to treat depression. And these are the 4 aspects of that program. Number 1, the program uses talk therapy to treat depression. According to the World Health Organization, talk therapies should be the first treatment for mild to moderate depression. Number 2, the program uses a group approach to deliver this talk therapy. From the works of Stephen Bickel, it is well documented that Bantu Africans have a natural tendency to form group friendships. As Africans, we see our community as an extension of ourselves. So our group approach is not only a good fit for our culture, but also allows greater access to the program. Number 3, the program provides knowledge and skills, as opposed to handouts. Participants are taught how to seek social and emotional support. They're taught how to practice positive coping skills. We teach them how to identify and initiate small, viable, income-generating projects. We provide them with basic financial skills like how to get the money, how to budget for that money, how to find market for the product. The last thing is that in this program, we ensure that the group sessions are culturally appropriate. What do I mean by that? Participants attending this program are put in gender-specific groups. That means women meet alone and the men meet alone because the issues are different. The facilitators of these groups must be the same gender as the group participants. The group facilitators guide the sessions using a manual in the local language. Local rituals are inserted within each group sessions, and in between sessions, participants are given assignments that increase social norms and values. The women in this program prefer to sit on a mat, and they're allowed to do so. And they've nicknamed this mat the pain reliever, a clear testimony that whatever they discuss on that mat relieves their pain. This program has received both national and international praise. We have been supported by the Canadian government through Grand Challenges Canada, as well as MQ Transforming Mental Health, a charity based here in London. So what have been the outcomes of this program? Women like Betty, the one with the red circle, Betty, now report feeling more empowered and more in control of their emotions. They speak of taking better care of their children. Betty gained friends, hope, and motivation to continue to live and contribute to her community. Today, Betty has a sweet potato garden and also a herd of goats, from which she gets money to meet her basic needs. Severino, who felt he should die prior to joining the program, teamed up with his group members, and they started a project of growing vegetables for sale. His share of the proceeds he used to set up a 4-acre Sim garden, from which he earned millions of Uganda shillings. He also acquired a herd of goats. Today, Severino is a clan leader and he's a treasurer at the primary school in his village. When we interviewed Severino 2 years after participating in this program, he referred to the group sessions as the best talk of living. His own words. My colleague at the graduate school never had the chance to share in the best talk of living. Perhaps if she had, she would have felt as empowered as the men and women we have supported since then. There are millions like her without access to culturally sensitive talk therapy. I'm sure you all know someone who might be struggling with depression. What can we do about it? What can you do about it? We have a formula here that works, a formula that has been published in the Lancet HIV journal. You can spread the good news. My dream is to see this program embedded in other health programs, not only in Uganda, but also in communities across Africa. We will not only save lives, but will help people thrive. I believe that together we can give so many more the best talk of living. Thank you.